Hi, my name is Pauline Dion, and I am the President and Executive Director and co founder of the Booth Bay Sea and Science Center. What you see on the upper right hand corner of this slide is a picture of our new home at 12 Carter Road on Lincoln Bay in East Booth Bay. Our 1.3-acre campus has two year round residences, three piers, a boat ramp, a boat shed, and approximately 300 feet of waterfront. What you see in the lower left corner of the slide is a group of sixth grade students who are feeling really good about their Saccharina latissima that they started as seedlings in their classroom and harvested from my farm on the Damascotta River. The Booth Bay Sea and Science Center is the first of its kind in Maine to offer an integrated, hands on, STEM based experiential marine science, sailing, and rowing program for youth ages 5 to 17. BSSC opened its doors in 2013 on Watton's Wharf in Booth Bay Harbor, offering a 6-week sailing program that enrolled 24 students and hired one instructor. In 2014, under the guidance, supervision, and expertise of Carla Skokie, we added marine science to our summer program. That summer, we were on the Little River, enrolled 54 students, and hired three sailing instructors, and in addition to Carla, a science apprentice. Last summer, BSSC enrolled 160 youth, hired 15 science and sailing instructors, and offered 9 weeks of integrated marine science, sailing, and rowing that explored topics that include climate change, do rising tides lift all boats, aquaculture, inside the secret garden, marine art, the sea that we see, marine debris, getting carried away, and Maine fisheries, meeting the farmers. BSSC is founded on equal and affordable access, promoting inclusivity no matter what your proximity is to the ocean. For 11 summers and 6 school years, we have developed and delivered a science and sailing program that is built on collaborations and partnerships with research laboratories, shipyards, schools, the fishing industry, and other nonprofit organizations that focus on education. In 2017, we began our journey into year-round programming with our Exploring the Science of Seaweed Farming program, a program that experientially introduces middle and high school students to seaweed farming. In its 7th school year, this program has extended its reach from 3 schools in Lincoln County to 21 schools in 7 counties: Lincoln, Piscataquis, Hancock, Cumberland, Androscoggin, York, and Kennebec, impacting more than 800 students each year. Exploring the Science of Seaweed Farming is about Maine seaweed farming that uniquely integrates sea, science, and observation skills and real-time data collection and analysis done by students and teachers. This program actively engages students in a curriculum that applies their learning to real-world issues, for example, climate change, affecting the ocean as a food source, as well as introducing students to different careers in aquaculture. Careers that include farm managers, seaweed farmers, fisheries biologists, engineers, seafood science, and hatchery management. Immersed in a science learning and research environment, students work side by side with educators, scientists, and aquaculturists, collecting and recording real-time scientific data. In the picture in the upper left corner is Seth Barker, co-founder of Maine Fresh Sea Farms in Clark Cove. Seth is presenting Meet the Farmer to a class of 5th and 6th grade students at Southport Central School. Seth always came fully prepared with his gear and a bucket full of seaweed. The students loved listening to him. He was the real deal. In the center picture is Peter Fisher, Seth's partner at Maine Fresh Sea Farms. Peter is talking with students from Greenville Consolidated School who are there to harvest their seaweed. For all but one student, this was their first trip to the Maine coast. And as an added bonus, they got to meet Tom Myers and to tour Pemaquid Oyster Farm with Smokey and his crew. In the far right picture is a sophomore student at McDomick High School in Waldoboro that I worked with last winter. Her science research project was studying the impact of warming water on the degradation of seaweed and the release of CO2. At the bottom is a picture of me this past December at Madomic Middle School with the 7th grade science teacher and her students. I'm there to collect their seaweed for planting. They are in the process of recording their final data. December of 2017 was our inaugural planting of the seaweed growing in the schools on my farm on the Damascotta River with Seth Barker. My job was to collect the seaweed from the schools. Seth's job was to set the long line, prepare the drop lines, and plant. On the left, Seth, in his kayak, is taking the long line out to the mooring. In the center photo are the floats we used to mark each school's seaweed line. On the right is a vertical drop line attached to the long line, ready to go into the water. As you can see, we are growing, literally and figuratively. We now plant not only on my farm on the west shore of the Damascotta River, but thanks to Chris Davis, we now have lines on the northeast shore of the river in Clark Cove. Additionally, we plant in Casco Bay on Ken Sparta's Spartan Sea Farms and in Frenchman Bay on Sarah Redmond's Springtide Seaweed Farm. Diversifying where we plant along the coast gives the students another variable to consider and begs the question, does where we plant make a difference in the growth and quality? To get the classroom seaweed ready for planting, students first check online for the ocean water temperature in the location that they will be planting. Over the course of 2 to 3 days, students drop the temperature in the tank a degree or two at a time to harden off the seaweed. To be sure that we can identify each school's seaweed, we plant on vertical drop lines. Each line has a brick to keep the line down and vertical, and a buoy at the top for flotation and identification. We use triple strand rope. We spiral wrap the seaweed onto the drop line, same as it would be on a long line. Our biggest concern the day we plant is the air temperature. If 32 degrees Fahrenheit and below with wind, we wait. These pictures show planting with Seth on my farm at Ocean Point Marina on the Damascotta River and with farmer Ken Sparta at Spartan Sea Farms in Casco Bay, along with BSSC's principal waterfront instructor, R.C. Chance. In the bottom center picture is Chris Davis driving us away from the Clark Cove farm that is marked with colorful buoys. In the lower right corner is Sarah Redmond at Springtide Seaweed, prepping a drop line that will be planted on her farm. Unfortunately, the 17-degree Fahrenheit temperature kept us from planting that day. To get the classroom seaweed ready for planting, students first check online for the ocean water temperature in the location that they will be planting. Over the course of 2 to 3 days, students drop the temperature in the tank a degree or two at a time to harden off the seaweed. To be sure that we can identify each school's seaweed, we plant on vertical drop lines. Each line has a brick to keep the line down and vertical, and a buoy at the top for flotation and identification. We use triple strand rope. We spiral wrap the seaweed string onto the drop line, same as it would be on a long line. Our biggest concern the day we plant is the air temperature. If 32 degrees Fahrenheit and below with wind, we wait. These pictures show planting with Seth on my farm at Ocean Point Marina on the Damascotta River and with farmer Ken Sparta at Spartan Sea Farms in Casco Bay, along with BSSC's principal waterfront instructor, R.C. Chance. In the bottom center picture is Chris Davis driving us away from the Clark Cove farm that is marked with colorful buoys. In the lower left corner is Sarah Redmond at Springtide Seaweed, prepping a drop line that will be planted on her farm. Unfortunately, the 17-degree temperature kept us from planting that day. For the harvest on my farm, school buses bring the students to the marina. The teacher chooses 4 students to be on the dock with me when we bring in the lines. We put the seaweed into baskets and weigh it. A table for each school is set up on shore where students will inspect their seaweed, record data such as length of blades, quality of the seaweed, predation, and so forth. Students will also revise their hypotheses, and when they leave, students take their seaweed back to school for further study. With the seaweed planted offshore, unfortunately, there are only teachers at the harvest at Spartan Sea Farms. Aboard Kent's boat, the seaweed is hauled, and once on shore, it is weighed. Teachers take the seaweed back to their students, and data is collected and recorded. Last year, one class dried the seaweed, and the teacher added it to her banana bread recipe and shared the bread with her students. In May of 2018 and 2019, the program culminated at Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences, where students presented their work and findings and made recommendations for future study. Students also shared how they felt about their experience, prompting students from one school to admit that they thought seaweed was gross and vowed to turn gross into great. A reception follows these presentations with food that was made from seaweed or has seaweed in it as an ingredient. These PowerPoint presentations and final written reports are critical as they document learning and measure results. Since COVID, we have not held a community presentation, and teachers are asking me to bring them back. With 15 schools, we are considering clustering the schools and holding final presentations in a convenient location. This slide speaks for itself. The program has grown from 3 schools in 2017 to 15 schools this school year. During these 7 school years, 21 schools have participated in the program. Currently, I have received requests from 4 teachers that want their school to participate in the program next year. You help us grow. It goes without saying that this program is built on collaborations and partnerships. I hope this presentation will inspire you to reach out to me about how you can get involved. This year's harvest will be on 3 farms that are offshore. I would love to have the students out on the water watching us harvest their seaweed. If you or someone you know would be interested in ferrying students out to these farms, please let me know. And finally, thank you so very much for this opportunity to share how we kelp the ocean.